Hello, this is Roger Shouse, and this is Jumpstart Rewind. This is part of our Heaven Bound podcast family. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7, casting all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Worry, stress, anxiety. Most would say that's life. Those things come with life. But multiple recent studies show very high levels of stress and anxiety among the younger generation. Gen Z and millennials rank their anxiety level as 6 on a scale of 10. In comparison, those aged 65 and older rank their anxiety level at 3.4 out of 10. And one of the greatest fears and causes of stress and anxiety among millennials and Gen Z is talking on the phone. As high as 90% of that generation have a great phobia of talking on the phone. They would much rather text than talk on the phone. This anxiety is on a level with fear of heights and snakes. It's more than they do not want to talk on the phone. The very idea of talking on the phone creates great anxious moments for them. As a result, many use texting as a means of breaking up dating relationships. Now, I don't have a psychology degree, but it doesn't take much to see what a problem is. In phone conversations, someone is immediately talking back. You receive the tone of their voice, the inflection and the volume, angry words, questions, rebuke. In texting, one can take their time in replying. One doesn't get all that inflection and tone that a voice delivers. I didn't find any studies on this, but it would seem that this younger generation would rather text than talk in person, because talking in person adds yet another layer of conversation. Body language, the eye contact, the expression of the face, the wrinkled forehead, the size, the movement of the hands and the arms. Anxious moments are not special or unique to our times. 5 times in Matthew 6, Jesus brings up the topic of worry. Why are you worried? The Lord asks over and over. I expect if we put the worry of earlier generations next to us, we'd be ashamed and embarrassed. Today, having a baby is a wonderful event. Not so long ago, having a baby was extremely fearful. Our cemeteries are filled with young mothers and their babies that both died in the delivery process. I read about a small town not far from where I live in Indiana. In the 1830s, a disease swept through that small community and wiped it out. The town no longer exists. Just going to work long ago was very dangerous. Jobs such as coal mining, building bridges and buildings often came with the loss of life. Survival was the goal for many of those in long ago times. So what are some takeaways from a lesson like this? First, we must train our children to be the exception and not the norm in these times. We do this first at home by having conversations. We encourage friendships with our children. We limit texting times and encourage face-to-face conversations. One doesn't text God. They must talk to the Lord. Crossing generation lines also help. Young talking to older and older talking to younger. Developing communication skills will help your children as he matures and branches out in life. Second, much of the anxiety issues are really faith issues. That's how the Lord saw it in Matthew 6. Strengthen the faith in God and the anxiety levels plummet. Knowing God is always there helps. Knowing that God loves even when we don't do right helps. Knowing God is greater than any problem helps. Instead of rushing off to counselors who happily prescribe medicines like M&M or prescribe pills like M&Ms, maybe we ought to be rushing our young people to Bible classes where they can learn about fiery furnaces and prison doors being shut and lions' dens. Building faith solves many of our problems today. Third, phobias about talking to someone on the phone is really a relationship problem. Maybe we have sheltered and pampered a generation to the extent that they can't handle anything negative. Maybe they can't deal with someone disagreeing with them. Catering to this won't help. It's time to put on the big boy pants and man up and be the people of God that the Lord expects. Act like men is what the apostle told the Corinthians. Grow up and stand firm with what the Ephesians were told. We don't help a generation when we continue to feed their phobias. Paul confronted Peter to his face in Galatians 2. For some today, that would be a crushing experience that they could never recover from. Our verse today, casting your anxieties upon him, is the assurance that God understands and God cares. Put the phone down and sit across from each other and have a wonderful and deep conversations. You'll see that's not nearly as bad as you feared. In fact, it's very enjoyable. Talk about the past. Tell stories. Grow closer to one another. You'll learn the Bible has a word for that. It's called fellowship. It's one of the strong bonds that keep us going. Give it a try. I think you'll like it. And don't do it by texting. Thank you so much for listening.